The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
Having surpassed $250,000 in proceeds, Takedown Cancer kicks off its sixth season at the November 25th Golden Gopher Wrestling Duel against South Dakota State at 1 p.m. at Maturi Pavilion. All funds raised go directly to the Randy Shaver Cancer Research and Community Fund, a charity that maintains an extraordinary high 92% efficiency rating. The funding is directed toward the best and brightest cancer researchers in the world as they advance on a wide array of new cancer treatments. Their work is making a difference and saving lives. Takedown Cancer is an all-volunteer organization that pays no salaries. Visit www.takedowncancer.org to start your own fundraiser or to make a donation. Join us as we take down cancer. Remember, no one fights alone.
It's time for the Guillotine Grapevine, a podcast for the land of 10,000 wrestlers. 10,000 wrestlers. Now, here's your host, award-winning wrestling broadcast journalist, Jason Bryant.
And hello again, Minnesota wrestling fans. Jason Bryant here with you on behalf of the Guillotine. This is another episode of the Guillotine Grapevine. Today's show, we will recap the Minnesota 22-15 win over Rutgers. It was the Gophers' Big Ten opener at home at Maturi Pavilion. We were expecting to see Nick Suriano, Ethan Lezak as our feature bout. That did not happen. We will get to that in our interviews today. So quickly, we'll get to it. We will talk first with head coach Scott Goodale of the visiting Rutgers Scarlet Knights, talking about what it's like to come into Minnesota, a little bit of disappointment from his situation as a coach, what he tells Nick Suriano, the opposing athlete, in a situation where a highly ranked wrestler doesn't come out. We'll also then go to Steve Bleise, who's one of three transfers in the lineup this year, having a really good year, coming off of hand surgery, had a big win last time at home at the Sports Pavilion against Andrew Schomers of Oklahoma State, comes back South Beach Duels, has a really, really big win against Rutgers to really kind of spark things there heading into the break. Then we'll talk to Minnesota head wrestling coach Brandon Eggum, as he's always got a horse after these duels, get his take on that, and also talk about Steve Bleise. And he's kind of the focus of this particular episode is Steve Bleise, the transfer from Northern Illinois by way of Chelsea, Michigan. Then we will catch up with Mr. Mountain Dew, or formerly Mr. Mountain Dew. He doesn't drink the stuff anymore, so he says Shane Sparks of the Big Ten Network. He will talk about what it's like being a Wisconsinite, if that's what they call him over there. And coming over to Minnesota quite frequently, and of course now with the Big Ten Network, he called the duel with Tim Johnson. So that's the breakdown of this particular episode of the Guillotine Grapevine. Again, you guys don't know how good you have it here in Minnesota with such a great publication like the Guillotine. If you have not subscribed to the actual piece of the magazine, the newspaper that sits there, you know, I discovered it, for lack of a better term, in a facility in my native Virginia with a Minnesota wrestler came down, and that was good reading material when you have to take care of your business, if you know what I'm talking about. So if you haven't subscribed to the print edition of the Guillotine, do so. It is worth it. TheGuillotine.com. Jeff Bleise, Mark Bleise, his whole family, they really have given their lives to Minnesota wrestling. I can't say that enough. Always appreciative for what they've done for me and bringing me into the Minnesota wrestling community. So thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, crew. And thank you for listening. Here we go. Cue the loon. First up, that guy from Jersey.
Now with Rutgers head coach Scott Goodale on the losing end of a 22-15 win here at the Sports Pavilion. A classic Big Ten battle, although it didn't look like it starting out. Bonus points in 4 straight matches. I mean, from an opposing team coming into a place like the Sports Pavilion, you've been here once or twice before. I mean, how do you prepare your team to wrestle at a place like Minnesota?
Well, we knew it'd be loud. We knew if we didn't wrestle, they would boo us right out of the gym. And that kind of happened in some spots. We're lying on the belly. That's a lot to do with the opponent keeping us on our belly. But you just got to be prepared to wrestle really, really hard with a lot of action, because that's what these fans want. And same thing if you're back in Jersey. And you're right, it's a big Big Ten battle. We kind of knew what was expected and shocked by all those bonus points early on. But, you know, we got to do a better job of kind of controlling the pace of the match, not letting some of those get away from us. And that was really the difference.
Of course, most people were talking about 133 pounds. Ethan Lezak was a skin check scratch. What was the situation from your vantage point on what happened there?
I just heard about it like 5 minutes before the weigh-in, so I had no idea it was going to happen. And I guess their trainer alerted our trainer, and it was pretty bad. And, you know, it's not our call, it's their call. And he didn't even get in line for weigh-in, so it must have been something new and popped up. And that's just, it's a sport, you know. It's a shame. I'm sure a lot of these people including our guys and our fans, wanted to see that matchup. But it is what it is. You wrestle who's in front of you and go from there.
From a coaching perspective, when you've got a high-profile match like that, and your guy, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of the he's not 100% or something like that, and we're seeing a lot of jockeying for seats and such, and seat protection and whatnot. But when you get in Suriano's ear, when you find out, what do you tell him as an athlete? What does a coach tell an athlete in that situation where it's a big match you're waiting for? The guy's been a finalist before. I mean, what do you tell an athlete?
The truth of the matter, a lot of that stuff kind of happens with Nick, and I'm not saying anybody's afraid of Nick. That's not what I'm saying at all. But there's been a lot of instances in the last year and a half where we show up for a match and the starter, the anticipated match isn't there. We go out to Vegas and the guys, again, I'm not saying anybody's ducking. There's reasons why guys sit out. If guys are hurt, they're hurt. So I get it, but the reality is he's used to it. It happens often to him. So you just wrestle the guy in front of you. We talk about it all the time. Focus on the 7 minutes in front of you. I know that sounds boring, but that's really what we tell him.
At a situation with a skin thing, it's not like you just covered up. I mean, because this is something, if you covered up and, hey, guess what? You're giving it the rest of the Big Ten. That could be really bad for the rest of the college season.
Yeah, so I appreciate them saying, this is bad. We're not going to weigh him in, because you're right. If it spreads, especially if it spreads to Suriano, everything with his issue last year, who knows? And then it gets to our team and that gets their team. So they did the right thing. It's a great job by those guys, and it's a sport. It's unfortunate. It stinks. We were looking forward to the match, but it won't be the last time that happens.
You'll be making another trip out here. The Big Tens are going to be hosted just right across a wall there in Williams Arena. What are you looking forward to about the Big Ten Championships coming here this year? And, of course, the NCAA's coming here next year at the big old crag of a stadium, U.S. Bank Stadium.
Yeah, the two things I'm looking forward to the most. The first thing, how the heck are they getting 4 mats on that raised platform? That's the first thing. And the second thing is just the really cool fan base they have here and how much they support wrestling here. It's just awesome. Everywhere you go, it's about Gophers, Gopher wrestling. It's pretty cool. So anytime you get to cities like that, it'll make for a great championship. And then, of course, national tournament. Looking forward to the national tournament down the line is going to be it's a great place for it.
Yeah, I mean, you're from New Jersey. You're used to fans chirping. This is nothing for you.
No, this is every day at the office type thing, and kind of got heated at 97 in heavyweight with the fans, but that's normal to us. We go through that quite a bit.
Thanks, Scott. Safe trip back.
Jason, thanks.
Now talking with Gophers 157-pounder Steve Bleise. Last time you wrestled this building, you had a pretty big win against Oklahoma State. Now you come back, you're back on the mat again. And what was it like to come out and have a big one there at 157?
It's great for me just to be back competing with my team. Obviously, I don't want to take time off the mat during my senior year, but I love competing at the sports pavilion. We got a great crowd here, and it's nice just to kind of let it fly. And it's Big Ten dual season. We got a big one coming up next week, so I'm even more excited for that one.
You're one of 3 transfers in the starting lineup. You've been here a year longer than the others. What did you tell Sean Russell and Devin Skatska when they showed up to campus as part of this program?
I was just pumped to have more guys who were coming in as transfers, and I kind of knew what it was like going through it, so I could help them through some of the struggles of summer school and things like that, just getting used to campus. And I think it was nice for them to have a guy who kind of had already been through it once before, and the older guys looked after me, even though they weren't transfers. They really helped me along the way, so that was really cool of them.
Before you got here, you were in the finals at the Midlands. You kind of had some name recognition coming in. So when you came to Minnesota, people were like, we got the guy who was at the Midlands last year. So let's take us back in time a little bit. What was the main reason you needed to change the scenery?
For me, I just wanted to make sure that I did everything that I could to reach my goals. And I felt like coming here to the University of Minnesota, we have all the resources. We have a phenomenal staff. We have great partners. And I think for me to get the most out of my wrestling career here at the University of Minnesota, this was the best spot for me.
The Big Ten is a grind. It can spit you up and chew you out. Coming from the MAC, you don't have that quite of a grind, even though it's a tough conference. What was the biggest adjustment you had year one to the Big Ten schedule?
I'd say the biggest adjustment year one is, since coming here, I have been banged up a little bit. You got to keep your body healthy. That's one of the biggest battles. You can beat anybody, but you can't beat anybody if you're not healthy and ready to go. And you also got to think in the Big Ten, you're going to wrestle a top 20 guy every single week. So you can't have any weeks where you're feeling sorry for yourself as we're in the MAC. You can have some duels where you can go out there and it doesn't really matter what you do. You're still going to find a way to win. Here you got to be ready to go every single time you toe the line.
What about the battles in the room? Because if it's not you, there's somebody else chomping at the bit that, again, is going to see a top 20 guy. What have you found, most engaging about earning that spot in that lineup week in, week out?
Yeah, any guy that you go with in our room is good enough to start anywhere. And you know that going in. For me, I always tell myself every time that I step out on the mat, the person that I'm wrestling against is probably worse than the people that I practice with on a day-to-day basis. So even if I've had a terrible week of practice, I know that the match is not going to be that bad.
There's some weight shifts this year. You, among other teammates, went up this year. How much more confident and I guess fresh are you at 157 this year?
I love it. I wake up anywhere from 6 to 8 over, and I feel great. I'm usually making right around scratch right after practice. I'm eating a lot. I feel strong. I feel like I got a lot of energy. I really think that I could have went up because I wrestled 41 as a freshman, and I've made some hard cuts. I know what it's like for other people to hurt out there, and I know a lot of guys, especially on other Big Ten teams, they got to cut a lot of weight to get it into the lineup. So I know those guys feel it, and that's just an added step that I have over them.
You had some pop out there tonight, just like the last time you wrestled against Shomers from Oklahoma State. You hit that pop late, and it was big. The place almost came down. But something about not cutting weight. I mean, how much have you been able to concentrate on getting better versus beating the scale?
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you're always focused on weight, you're right. You're not focused on getting better at wrestling. And I don't want to be the best weight cutter. I want to be the best wrestler. And I think with the people that I wrestle with on a daily basis, part of it just comes from when you step out there. It doesn't matter how the week went. It doesn't matter how past years have went. I'm ready to fire. I'm ready to go. I'm excited to be out here. The home crowd fires me up. I want to compete for my teammates. Everything pushes me to be better. And just not having to worry about weight, that's a huge load lifted off your mind where you're not worried about having to pull. If I don't lose 6-7 pounds this practice, it's going to be really rough for me the rest of the week. I don't have to worry about that. That's just added stress I don't need.
You guys are in a unique situation as you went from the dungeon to the new wrestling room. What's it like training in that new room?
The new wrestling room has definitely lit a fire, and not that we didn't have the fire before, but you can tell. Guys are excited when they step in. They, you walk through the door and there's just a little bit of a smile on your face. You know that wow, we're a premier program. We have the best resources, and I love it. We got all the mat space that we need. We still fill it up, but it's great for playing games at the beginning and end of practice. Guys have all the space they need. Our senior level guys who train with us, they're a big part. We got room for them to be in there now without worried about getting trampled over. It's awesome.
When it comes to getting back on the mat, you were off the mat after the Oklahoma State duel, had some minor surgery. What was it like getting back on the mat at South Beach and then here?
It was just great getting back on the mat. I definitely love being out there. I hated sitting out, but I was still able to travel with the team, support my buddies and be out there. But definitely, I don't want to miss anything else. It's my senior season. I love every single moment of it. I'm trying to soak it all in, and it's just great not having to worry about my hand anymore. It feels totally fine. We still tape it up, but that's the farthest thing from my mind.
You kind of got a minefield in the Big Ten at this weight class. I don't know if you've heard yet, but Tyler Berger beat Ryan Deacon earlier this afternoon. And, talk about the weight class a little bit. There's that guy named Nolf, next topic for a lot of people, but, what are you looking at that weight class?
I think on my best day, I can beat anybody, and I'm not worried about a name. That's why we wrestle the match. If we did everything by paper, there'd be a lot of different matches. But, I know that on my best day, no matter who I wrestle, I can be beat by anybody, but I can beat anybody too. So, for me moving forward, the only thing I can't control what the other guy does, but I can control giving my best effort every time I step out there.
Got Iowa coming in next week. Thoughts, reflections?
I'm super excited. It's one of the biggest duels of the year. It's a huge rivalry. This place is going to be packed, standing room only. I'm looking forward to it. I know everybody else is. Our whole team's pumped. We're looking to get these guys. We definitely owe them one. So we're all super excited, and you better believe this week of training is going to be good.
Nice job, Steve.
Thanks, boss. Appreciate it.
Now with Gopher head wrestling coach Brandon Eggum after a 22-15 win over a very spirited Rutgers crew that comes in. They're always prepared. They always bring a little swagger. And what was the preparation for this duel against Scott Goodale and his crew?
Yeah, you said it. It's a Big Ten team. We know they're tough. We know the guys are going to come out and wrestle. So, I think our guys were prepared and ready for that. And it was it was an exciting duel. There's some close matches that were won and lost on both sides, and then a few that got away from both teams too. But big wins. I felt like we left a couple on the table there. I think that 184-pound match, 197 would would be really big opportunities for our guys and for Big Ten seeds and down the road there. So disappointed in that, but it's about getting better. So.
Of course, 133 is the one everybody was looking forward to, Sirianni and Lezak. What was the situation with Ethan? Understand it was a skin issue. What transpired?
Yeah, he had a skin infection, and as a result of that, we thought it'd be, fine. You never know. We've been in the situation before. It was on his back. We showed it to him. Thought we could cover it and stuff, but Rutgers, it was their call, and they said no to it. So we knew the fans would be disappointed. It was a really good opportunity for us, we thought, as far as getting a chance for Ethan, and again, talking about Big Ten seeds and stuff, a win there is we got everything to gain, nothing to lose. So, but that's what happened there. So everyone was disappointed, unfortunately, but maybe for another day.
3 transfers in the lineup. One of them, Steve Bleise. He's back in the lineup. Last time he was in this building, he had a big win against Oklahoma State. 3 transfers in the lineup is kind of abnormal at the Division I level. What's Steve meant to the program and his opportunities to kind of lead Sean Russell and Devin Scott as they came in as transfers?
Yeah, I'll start with Steve. I guess the awesome thing about Steve is just what you said. He won a match here against Oklahoma State. He had a broken hand the entire week. I know the doctor said there's no way this guy's going to be able to wrestle. But we said, well, we'll let him try. And they set up surgery for the following Monday, the day after the duel. Well, it was a tough week of practice, but he got through it, got down to weight. And then the duel, we knew he was going to be limited. He was going to be wrestling a good opponent with one hand, and it just shows his guts. He is a tough kid, so that was really awesome. It was kind of cool to hear what Steve said. He said, there's no way I'm going to miss out. I've never wrestled Oklahoma State before. It's a home duel. It's my senior year. I want to wrestle this. Nothing's going to stop me. And so, out of respect for him to make the opportunity, we let him go out there. We thought it might be tough, but he got a big win. And so right now, it's kind of awesome that he keeps coming out here and getting these matches because he had surgery the following day. So every match he's getting some kinks out and stuff. It's pretty cool. Going to the other 2 transfers, Russell and Skatska, they're just awesome. All 3 of them are just great guys. And to get these guys to fill in on some gaps and stuff has really helped the team a lot. I love Sean Russell's energy, the way he wrestles, which is the pace that he goes. It's been big to have a guy start a duel like that for your team, and it is really exciting. Then you finish it with Gable and stuff like that. You got a really solid start, and then you get, like I said, the guys we have through the middle. It's a good, tough team. But today, we knew this was going to be a good duel. We knew it could come down to bonus points. Taking Lezak out of there can make it even tougher, but I'm proud of the guys that come away with a win, and now we're getting ready for Iowa next week.
As it comes to Steve, he's coming from the MAC. He had some decent credentials. He was a Midlands finalist. Been to the show. When a guy like that comes into the program, he's probably got some expectations. Oh, this guy should step right in. Almost expecting a jump level. When they get into a Big Ten room. What was the biggest adjustment for him to make to the Big Ten?
No, he hit it right on. That's exactly what we saw. Like a lot of power behind what he'd already accomplished. At the previous school, and then coming in here, we knew he could be a contender. I think the hardest thing. I don't know. I would always say the hardest thing coming to the Big Ten would maybe be the grind, but it's probably hasn't been that because he's such a tough kid. I would say for Steve, it was probably injuries. He's had some small things like his hand and those things he had to deal with, and that's tough because he's a kid that wants to work out 3 times a day. We're constantly having to pull the reins back, so I think that's probably been the toughest thing for him. As far as the room and the talent in there, like I knew from day one, he was so excited. Like he picks the toughest guy every time. We're sometimes telling him, hey, you got to mix it up here a little bit, work with some younger guys too, give yourself a chance to work in different areas. But I mean it as a compliment to him. But I think probably the toughest thing for him the last couple of years is he's had some injuries, and I don't know what his situation was exactly, if he had any of that. At Northern Illinois or not, but that's probably been the toughest thing. So I think he'll get better every week, and we're just excited to have those 3 leaders on our team now. They've helped a ton.
The mantra has been lately kind of March is what matters, but coming in here next week, Iowa, and this is, a lot of teams don't really peak for dual meets. This is one both teams circle on their schedule. So how's the training going to be like leading into this duel with the Hawkeyes? Yeah,
I mean, training-wise, we probably don't change much. We look at it, especially when we get in the season, just a lot of individual attention for each guy based on what they need, because we see a lot of different things out here. Some guys are great on top, bottom, feet, whatever, defensively. Other guys, have their strengths and weaknesses. So we do a lot of our week planning based on what we see that they need to improve on. Maybe a little bit if you know the strengths of a certain individual they're going to wrestle, but training-wise, not much of change. It is a big duel. From where the season started to where we're at this point, I think that this is going to be a really exciting duel is I got to give compliment to the guys in the team and my assistant coaches for getting these guys ready and developing them, and so far having a good preseason that it has guys like yourself thinking, man, this could be a fun duel to watch. So.
Here following, well, we're still following. Obviously, if you're listening to this show, we've already established the score was 22-15. Now, a special guest. It's Mr. Mountain Dew. Not sponsored yet. Shane Sparks, Big Ten Network. This is one on site. What's it like to get here on a 40-degree day in Minnesota, Shane?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Minnesota just came back from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, South Beach duels, and they must have brought some of that good weather here. I mean, it's not exactly 80, but as you know, in Minnesota, Wisconsin, here in the Midwest, you put a 45, 46 spot on the temperature board the first week of January, it feels like Florida.
I think the third week of March next year is when everybody's looking at it right now. And now one thing that we're looking at is, location, how Big Ten Network sets things up. A lot of times you're in the studio in Chicago. Here you're on location with Tim Johnson with a big match that was scheduled at 1:33. Lezak didn't pass the skin check. I'm not really sure exactly how it passed. We've got interesting, conflicting stories from each coaching staff. But from a broadcasting standpoint and a wrestling fan standpoint, it just got to suck sometimes when you don't see the premier matchup for TV.
It's disappointing. I mean, it's that simple. It's disappointing. One that comes to mind a few years back was Tony Ramos and Logan Stieber at Carver Hawkeye. A lot of hype didn't happen. I mean, it happens obviously more often than you'd like to see, but I mean, I understand it. I mean, obviously today, safety concerns with the skin issue from Lezak and his snake bitten as Soriano's been, whatever the story is, and I've heard multiple stories as well, but it's just at the end of the day, it's disappointing for wrestling fans because those are the matches you want to see. 133 in the Big Ten across the nation is a loaded weight class. Bummed out, but at the same time, you still get to see some stars. We saw some today.
What's cool about the state of wrestling here, and I say this on the Guillotine podcast this year, that this is the land of 10,000 wrestlers. We got more wrestlers in this state. We got hockey players. Big Tens are here this year. NCAAs are at the U.S. Bank Stadium next year. I mean, the next 18 months are going to be such a huge deal for Minnesota. What are you excited to see one state over being a Wisconsin native?
I love coming to Minnesota. It's a great fan base, a knowledgeable fan base. They show up. And I think it's going to be awesome because the Big Ten keeps getting better every single year. Same with the NCAAs. You go to it, as you well know, and you think, okay, it's not going to get any better than this. This is going to be the best year ever. And then the next year, it's even better yet. So I'm super jacked up about it. It's a great place, phenomenal people. I was talking to somebody before. I'm from Wisconsin. We got nice people in Wisconsin. Minnesota people are another level of nice. Just great people here, and I'm excited for this program. Brandon Eggum was talking to him before. He took over a tough spot, taking over for Jay Robinson, and you can see that things are really starting to come together. I would say, Jason, I think Minnesota's got as distinct of culture as any program in college wrestling. It's a certain kind of kid. It's the coaching staff. I mean, outside of Trevor Brandvold, I don't know when the last time they had a coach that wasn't that didn't wrestle here.
Kevin LaValle, but
all right, Kevin LaValle, Bucknell, correct? But it's a very, I mean, it really is. It's so overused, but it's a very family-like culture and atmosphere here.
But he was a graduate assistant, so he was in grad school, so kind of an asterisk.
Okay, exactly. I think it's just great to see Minnesota on the climb. I think this is a scary team. This team could be really good, really good.
You're coming back next week. I'll be in Virginia for the Virginia Duel, so I won't be here. But Iowa, Minnesota, let's just, as a wrestling fan, girl, you talked about how watching Iowa Public Television back in the day or watching tapes of the old Iowa teams. And Iowa, Minnesota, this is going to be it's not at Williams. It's going to be in here at the Sports Pavilion, Maturi Pavilion. It's going to be compact. It's going to be exciting. When you see Iowa, Minnesota on your schedule as a wrestling fan, as a commentator, what do you think?
Fires you up. I mean, it fires you up. I mean, you look at the Big Ten schedule, Jason, they've done another phenomenal job. They're all big. I mean, Big Ten wrestling is SEC football. Every single week you got some great matches, whether it's Carver Hawkeye Arena, Williams Arena, here inside the Sports Pavilion. When Iowa and Minnesota get together, it's a wrestling fans. It's awesome. I mean, those are the matches you want to see. And they should pack this place. I expect they will. It's going to be awesome. Virginia Duels will be good, too.
I'll just be a lot warmer than you guys will.
But it'll be hot in here, right?
See, Shane is so amped up. He even snores like that.
And I haven't had a Mountain Dew, Jason, in almost 3 years. Chris Bono, ever tell you that story?
No.
Chris Bono, real quick. We're at the national tournament coming up on 3 years ago. Quarterfinal session. You're doing the PA. I'm on my mat, and I'm drinking a Mountain Dew. and some like chips or cookies, something bad. And Chris Bono was then at South Dakota State, comes over and he goes, Shane, come on. He looks me in the eye and he goes, you don't put bleeping unleaded fuel in a mother bleeping Ferrari. It changed my life. I haven't had a Mountain Dew since.
I think I have like one soda a month, maybe, if that. Anyway, Shane Sparks, always good to see you, man.
Great seeing you, JB. Keep up the great work. Matt Talk Online, must listen.
And that guide, too.
Nice job.
Support wrestling in the land of 10,000 wrestlers by subscribing to The Guillotine. 9 issues a year for just $20, the best value in Minnesota wrestling. Subscribe at theguillotine.com/subscribe.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.